Hi and welcome to episode 59 of my China 2 series. A series of videos where we put woodworking tools from China to the test. My name is Dennis and I am from Hooked on Wood. And it's been a while since I last uploaded a video, and this delay was due to a holiday and several projects I needed to complete around my house. And the new year provided a great opportunity to finish those projects first. However, I am excited to present this new video. And first I want to share some news from Hongdui. They have launched a new product line of router bits, which includes 3 different compression flush trim bits. And I find all these trim bits essentials for anyone with a router. And recently I had the opportunity to use them in one of my projects, and my initial impression was fantastic. However, it is difficult to provide a review because the true value of these router bits lies in their durability, which can only be assessed over time. What I can say is that these bits are very sharp, made from tungsten steel, and feature a DLC coating that enhances their durability. And that makes them far more superior to the more affordable hardened steel versions. And while they come at a higher price, comparable compression bits sell for around $200, making this Hongdui router bit quite competitive. So if you're in the market for serious high-end compression bits, it is certainly interesting to give them a try. And 2 years ago I reviewed a parallel guide system and rated it 3 stars because it lacked a scale. However, you could work around this, and the issue was fixed shortly after my review. And since then I have received many comments from viewers who ordered the product and received the corrected version, and encouraging me to do a new review. And although I never created a new video on it, a parallel guide system is a popular and effective solution for those working with a track saw. So I requested 2 different types of parallel guide system that I would like to examine more closely. One is the Enjoywood version, which appears to be a direct copy of the Woodpeckers model, and the other one is from WNEW. And a parallel guide system enables precise and consistent cuts when using your track saw and a guide rail. And these 2 systems are compatible with the Festool, Makita and Triton guide rails. And since a guide rail is approximately 80 cm wide, there must also be a solution for cutting narrow strips. And the most noticeable difference between parallel guide system is how they address this need. I prefer to start with the WNEW version because I found it more appealing, and its design is quite simple, and I'm curious whether this is a good or a bad thing. The packaging is good. It arrives in double boxes, though it is less sophisticated than the Enjoywood version. And one aspect I appreciate is that it consists of only a few pieces. The 2 bars are 60 cm long and made from 1 piece. And although there is also an extension version, this smaller version is quite easy to handle, and the bars are just the right size to work comfortably. And you can make cuts till 72 cm, which I think covers most needs. The system WNEW uses is simple and straightforward, and although there are different designed parallel guide systems, like the Woodpeckers or this Enjoywood version, I think this WNEW has the most basic and straightforward approach. And the method for attaching the system to the rail guide is both solid and durable. And although you can easily secure it by hand, it creates a stable and sturdy connection. And when using it for the first time, you must set up your parallel guide system to align with the rail guide. And this process is quite simple, and theoretically it should only be done once. But because this calibration is so simple with this WNEW version, it's also not a problem to check it regularly and make adjustments when necessary. When connected to the rail guide, you push the 2 bars against the side of the rail guide and secure them again. And after this, replace the extension rods and slide them to the end of the rail guide. So this is the 0 position, and now it's just a matter of placing the needle of the flip stop also to the 0 position on the ruler. And that's it. And I like that they use the same scale for working with and without the rods. You can read the dimensions on the left side using the extension rod, and on the right side when making smaller strips. But the scale stays the same, where the Woodpeckers use an extra scale at the side, or other examples where the scale makes a small jump. So I think this is the most straightforward and clean solution. So now when you want to make a cut at 25 cm, for example, you set the flip stop to 25 and you can make your cut. And 25 centimeters is the minimal cut you can make without using the rods. And when you want to make smaller strips, you attach the rods and use the right side of the scale. And in this example, I wanted to cut it 5 centimeters. And for this, the rod needs to go underneath the rail guide. So now we slide it with the rods against the workpiece and you can make your cut. And this system makes achieving repeatable cuts relatively easy and performs very well overall. And I believe it's very well possible to achieve accurate cuts within 2 to 3 tenths of a millimeter. However, because it's not as stable and secure as a high quality table saw, some deviation may exist when you set it up and make your cut. But I was able to make most of my cuts with a deviation of less than 2 to 3 tenths of a millimeter. When working with a parallel guide system, some crucial factors must be considered. First and foremost is the initial setup. Using the extension rods positioned above the rail guide is easier. However, this setup does not correspond to the position of the flipstop during cutting. And while the flipstops are generally sturdy and straight, you cannot assume that there is no deviation between different positions. And therefore it's best to set up your parallel guide system with the rods placed beneath the rail guide, because this is the position where the flipstop will be used. And when working with materials thinner than 18 mm, you cannot use the flipstops in the lowest position, as they will slide beneath the workpiece. So I tested for any deviation in this position compared to the lowest position, and there was a slight deviation of 0.06 of a millimeter, which is far within the acceptable tolerances. But in general, it's good to examine if there is some deviation between the different flipstop positions. And when you make wider cuts, the rail guide and track saw are stable enough. But for thinner strips, it will help when you use some wood to stabilize the rail. Otherwise it will bend, which can also cause some minor deviations. But this has more to do with physics than with this product. Just remember, for accurate cuts, you need to stabilize the rail. And after removing and attaching the bars from the rail guide, I tested how consistent the accuracy would be. And this works perfectly. I did not notice any deviations from this. There are still a few improvements that can be made in my opinion, and that would have made this parallel guide system close to perfect. Because you have two separate bars, you must set them precisely the same, and this is crucial. And the part of the flipstop that holds the needle is a bit thick and created shadows. Combined with a skilled color, this can sometimes make it less clear to see. And although the flipstops are sturdy and square, they are no high-end flipstops. It also does not have a high-end price, but I think there is small room for improvement here. In the end, I have to say that I really appreciate working with this parallel guide system. It is easy to calibrate and has only a few parts, making it simple to store and organize. And this is an essential tool when using a track saw for accurate cutting. And high-end parallel guide systems are generally very well built, but they also cost a fortune. So for a bit over $100, this system creates in practice the same accuracy, but for half the price. It is a simple but very clever design. In fact, I think it is the most practical design and a very exciting package. And this is my scoring card. Enjoywood next parallel guide system is similar to the one I tested in episode 30 and closely resembles the Woodpeckers parallel guide system. And I must say, this product looks impressive. I'm unfamiliar with the Woodpeckers version, but I imagine its quality won't be too far off given the overall build quality. Not every part may have this exact same color, something that would not happen with the Woodpeckers version, but the build quality is very good. And this set includes many more parts, especially compared to the WNEW version. And the reach is excellent, allowing you to cut up to over 135 centimeters. And you need to use all the 4 parts of the setup to do this. And while combining these 4 parts might seem to result in a less sturdy construction, this is not the case. The connection between the parts is very well engineered, providing a solid and stable structure. But for convenience, using the minimal set of bars is more practical. And the same applies to the connection with the rail guide. It's excellent and even overbuilt. The disadvantage, however, is that you cannot secure it by hand and you need 2 screwdrivers of different sizes to connect them. Setting up this parallel guide system is easy but not as straightforward as the WNEW version. Each side had 2 flip stops, and you need them both to calibrate it with the guide rail. Next, we adjust the flip stops to the appropriate position marked on the scale. And we ensure that the end of the rod is positioned against the last flip stop and secured. And now we align it with the edge of the guide rail by sliding the bar until the rod reaches the end of the guide rail. And we use the rod along with the back flip stop for the narrow cuts. And unlike the WNEW version, the scale for the narrow cuts is on the side. And when you want to make broader cuts than 28 centimeters, you do not need rods anymore. And you can use one of the regular flip stops. However, I can see that having a second flip stop can be very handy for setting a second length for repeatable cuts. And working with the system has been generally fine. And the accuracy was perfect for the more minor cuts and when using the rods. However, when I applied the scale for the broader cuts, I consistently noticed a deviation of 1 millimeter. And after researching this issue, I discovered that the 2 scales are not perfectly aligned. When I calibrated the system with the flip stops positioned at the marked settings, I found that the distance from the first flip stop to the edge of the guide rail should be 295 millimeters. Unfortunately, it measured 296. And this discrepancy indicates an alignment problem when using the side scale for thinner cuts and the top scale for broader cuts. And that is a shame, because for around $90 for a parallel guide system of this quality with this extensive reach, it is an exciting price. In fact, it would have been a bargain. However, it is relatively easy to resolve this problem. When I made my rod just 1 millimeter shorter, the aligning problem was fixed. And the system works as it should. And a more safe method, because when you make your rod shorter, it should be exact, is just placing a spacer of 1 millimeter at the back of the rod. But to be clear, this workaround should not be necessary for a system to function correctly, of course. And it is a shame they let this happen. So the only right thing for me to do would be to give it a no recommendation. However, if you are on a tight budget, this is an easy fix. And once corrected, you will have a very accurate parallel guide system that meets all your needs. And I believe the manufacturer will address this problem promptly upon seeing this video anyway, but at least you now know what to expect and what adjustments are necessary for it to function properly. And since the solution is straightforward, I still want to give it a rating of 3 stars. Well, this brings us to the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. And when you are looking for an affordable parallel guide system, you now know what to expect, at least from these 2 options. Thank you for watching. Have a great day, and I'm looking forward to see you next time.